89.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fortress Comic News, episode 89. I'm one of your hosts, Chris, alongside
Mike, the other host.
Holding his face together right now.
Yeah, we could call this episode one away from 90, is what we'll do.
Yeah.
Today on the show, we have news, we have comics. We don't have comics for you, but we have comic news, and we also have an interview with Michael Kogge, writer of many things. He's wrote a book for Alterna Comics we'll be talking about. He's written the junior novels for Last Jedi and The Force Awakens. Yes, the Star Wars movies. He's written stories about StarCraft 2. He's written stories about Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. This guy writes a lot of stuff, and he's a very cool dude. So we'll be listening to him very shortly. You don't have to listen to us very long, I promise.
Yes.
Yeah, so here we are. Wow. Now what? Oh, yeah, there's news. I guess there's news. Mary Poppins comes out soon. I got to go see that in like a couple weeks, I think.
Yes.
Or something like that.
And everybody look out for my review of Venom coming next, the Thursday after you're listening to this. Thursday night, Friday morning.
Is Venom coming out next week?
Yeah, this coming weekend. So
this coming
5th.
Weekend, right. Okay. So I thought.
I'm going to see it on the 4th.
Oh, Thursday night.
Yeah.
Ooh, Thursday night. I didn't think you were going to be jumping at this one right away, but that's cool.
Yeah, I'm a fancy boy.
Fancy boy. Yeah, so I'm going to probably see it over the weekend at some point. Yeah, so let's just jump right in the news here.
Let's do it.
TV news: Stargirl has been cast. It is Breck Bassinger. Don't know who she is. She kind of looks. She looks like Stargirl. So that's that.
Yeah. It seems like a typical CW choice. Someone from either Nickelodeon or Disney.
Yep.
And they're now going to be a superhero.
Yeah. Perfect. I hope she has some singing experience when they get trapped in another musical episode.
Yeah. So I cannot watch it.
Daredevil season 3 trailer. Those are pretty intense, huh? You got Matthew Murdock with blood all over his face, putting on the original mask. Pretty interesting, huh?
Yeah.
What's on there? What's up with that?
And we got Kingpin wearing the white suit.
The white suit. Isn't that funny? They're like, you can't have both. You can't have Daredevil in the costume and Fisk. Like, we're going to give you one or the other. They're like, we only have budget for one.
I mean, there's obviously a resurrection theme because, spoiler alert, Daredevil's dead in that universe right now.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm interested. Daredevil's the one out of all those that I will fight anybody. That show is fantastic.
Oh yeah,
and I just love the character of Daredevil.
That's like the only one that can hold my interest. I'm slowly getting through Iron Fist, but there's just other shows that are getting in the way that I'm watching. I caught up on Better Call Saul. That show, hands down, absolutely fantastic.
Love that show.
Breaking Bad level good. If you were a fan of Breaking Bad, you need to watch Better Call Saul right now. Like, that show is so intense, so much emotion, and you get Gustavo Fring, you get all the background knowledge on him, the origin story of like Mike Ehrmantraut, all this stuff. You're getting all the original characters, well, besides Bryan Cranston, but it's so good. Yeah, but Daredevil, really excited for that. And also, I think we're going to see him, like, he's going to start murdering people. Like, I think...
probably real close.
He says something about, like, people keep coming back. Well, there's only one way to get rid of them. And it's like, well, I don't know. I don't know. What do you do? Shoot him out into space or kill him? There's only two options. I don't know. Unless is this season like Daredevil in space? Oh my god! Please.
So here's the prediction: Episode 1, he's resurrected. Episode 2, is this going to be a green screen of Daredevil sneaking up on Thanos?
Yeah,
and he's just going to snag the gauntlet and run away.
Yeah,
and just go nuts for the rest of the season. That's what's going to happen.
Perfect.
Yeah,
I would watch. I'm going to binge that if that's the case. Yeah. So, anyways, moving on. Movie news. There's lots and lots of images of Joaquin Phoenix all over the internet of the Joker. We've also gotten a label, I think, for that section of the DC movie universe. It's called DC Dark or DC Black. I don't know if you've heard that, but I think it was officially announced by Warner Brothers. So, along with the comics that's happening right now, we're getting all those dark books. We're kind of getting Elseworld stories with the movies too, which I'm not totally upset about. I think this might. I don't know. I keep seeing a lot of images, and I think Joaquin looks really good. And I think this is going to be a pretty messed up movie from the way they've been marketing it with the whole makeup reveal and stuff. It seems really like Grant Morrison weird is what I'm thinking.
So my initial reaction, like somebody showed it to me and I thought it was a joke.
Get it, Joker?
But yeah, like literally, I thought they were just like, "Did you see this thing online?" It was like an online gag or something. I was like, "Oh, that's funny."
Yeah.
And then I started doing research on it. I was like, "Wait, that's the actual Joker."
Wait, this is real?
And I was like, "Don't get me wrong, I'm not thrilled about the face makeup. The suit is fantastic."
Yeah.
And then I saw the second image of him in like a full clown garb, and I just have no fucking clue what's going on right now. I've seen people, because internet and people gotta butt heads. I've seen people go nuts about how, oh, you guys got so mad at the Dark Knight Joker and this is the same deal. It's not the same. Shut up.
It's not the same because the universe is in shambles.
Yeah. I'm of the same mind. It's not enough for me to be like, it's not Leto bad. Like that, took one look at it and said, this is going to be bad. This, I feel like they're showing us early images of him trying to find his, like, I don't know if this makes sense, but find his insanity. Like, I think he's messing with looks and he's doing different jobs, and near the end, we'll get the reveal of kind of the Joker we know.
His facial expressions, though, are pretty, like, I've seen a lot of photos now, and he's got like the smile is really creepy. Like, I didn't realize how creepy Joaquin Phoenix could be. Yeah, like most of the movies, he's like this shy, timid actor, And
I'm okay with them playing around with it. Like, it doesn't have to be identical. I honestly thought at first, my first glance at it was just like, I don't like this. And then after thinking about it and seeing more images, I was like, I think that he's going to jump around from different looks until he finds one at the end that kind of is who that Joker is going to be moving forward. So we'll see. I'm willing to give it a shot because it looks like they're putting a lot into it. So
there's also Captain Marvel trailer. It's definitely the invasion timeline, like Chris said before, or invasion storyline. Because either if it's not, she's decking an old lady in the face for no reason in the trailer.
Which I'm okay with.
Yeah. Hey, Marvel. It could be Marvel just saying, you guys will give us your money whether or not we just do what we want. We're gonna punch an old lady in the face. This movie's gonna make $1 billion. Like, it's just that simple. Yeah, it looks good. I think young Samuel L. Jackson. I'm going to see this movie just for that.
Yeah,
is what I'm going to the movie for. No, it looks really good. She definitely there's more to her powers than like beating people up. It seems like that's their idea is like, okay, we need to separate her from Supergirl. How do we do that? Well, she's got to discover her powers and stuff. So, yeah, I think it looks great.
Yeah, there's definitely a is she human, is she alien vibe going on.
Yeah.
They're playing around with a lot of stuff. They're definitely setting us up for Secret Invasion to be a future Avengers movie. Because, that's a scroll that she's punching. It's obvious.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
At the end of the day, though, I thought it was a really good trailer. It's another Marvel trailer. Which isn't insulting because they're always great. And then the movie, at the end of the day, 9 times out of 10 ends up being at least good. So... I'm down for it either way. I am invested in this universe, so I'm going to every movie they put out.
You gotta watch it. You gotta watch them all now. Yeah. And I mean, they kind of have their own. I mean, it's the rinse and repeat. They have the trailer. It's a good movie. It's what's expected from them. And then there's the X-Men Dark Phoenix trailer. We do see them in their original like blue and yellow suits, which look terrible. I don't think there's ever been an X-Men costume that has looked good. There was like those Edward Scissorhand costumes in the Bryan Singer one, where they're like really tight leather.
Yeah, it was the Grant Morrison leather.
Yeah, Grant Morrison leather. Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, yeah, I guess it looks like an interesting movie.
Yeah, I have an issue with the woman playing Jean Grey. She was in she's in Game of Thrones, and she's just so whiny to me.
Yeah.
And to me, like Jean Grey is like a woman who can stand on her own and like isn't necessarily like put off by male attention or like be like, I don't need a man in my life, but like she doesn't need it at the same time. Yeah. And this woman, at least her demeanor and the few things I've seen her in, comes across as kind of like whiny and needy and just mousy almost. And it doesn't fit my image of Jean Grey. No, that's my image of Jean Grey. That's not everybody's image of Jean Grey. And the Fox movies have had kind of a poor record going backwards. So we'll see. I'll watch it. I think it's not long for this world, though, because it definitely seems like Marvel has plans for the X-Men.
Yeah, for sure. And it's everybody online's like, yeah, it's the X-Men plus Mystique.
Like, it's really the Mystique saga because she's the draw.
And then they're like, okay, well, we need Magneto, so let's go ask for his help one more time. I feel like they've asked for Magneto's help like 3 or 4 times, and he's betrayed them every time. But this will be different.
That's Magneto.
That's Magneto for you. All right, so we have a fantastic interview to cut to featuring Michael Kogge, and we will see you with some fantastic comic news on the other side.
Hey guys, Chris here, interrupting the show real quick. Remember, if you want to show your support for Force Comic News, head on down to patreon.com/Force Comic News, where just $1 a month gets you access to our Slack channel, where we can talk comics all day and all night, and exclusive Patreon podcast that we're uploading very soon. A series of games that we play with all the great guests we have here on Force Comic News. You're going to get one of those every month. And just $1 a month gets it for you. So remember, that's the best way to show your support there and to help a growing community and to be a part of it with us. So everybody, thanks for your support, and on with the show.
So welcome back, everybody. Today we have a very special guest from Alterna Comics, from Lucas-related projects, and tons of other stuff. We have Michael Kogge. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
Good. I'm really good. I think you messed up the name again, Chris.
It's a Kogge.
Is it
Kogge?
Kogge. I think this is a running joke of Chris trying to mess with me, that like he always asks someone their last name and then he completely butchers it when he does the intro. This is a running gag.
It's okay.
I think
We're used to it.
I think he just doesn't. I don't know. I think it's a running gag on me. But hey, man, welcome to the show. You're a writer of many things. We have lots of stuff to talk about. I guess we'll start with we like to start with the origin of, I guess, why you got into writing, and more specifically, what made you pick the medium to write a comic book. You have your comic book series, Empire of the Wolf, that was published with Alterna. So yeah, we'll just start off there. What got you into writing?
Well, I it was one of those things I always wanted to be a writer. Some people have to decide what they want to do, but for me, I knew almost from day one I wanted to write. I wanted to be somehow involved in drama, whether it be theater or film or television or even radio. So those are things that always were part of my life. You know, I just always wanted to do them from the youngest age. And I went to, I was writing in high school, writing in college, and I got an English major and a film degree too. And then came out here to Hollywood to be a screenwriter, got a master's in screenwriting.
Wow.
And, have been slowly, it's a long haul, and it takes a long time, but by making a lot of connections and doing good work, eventually, if you want to be a writer, you can definitely do it, and you can make a living doing it too.
Awesome. Yeah. So I know you write a lot of novels, especially the Star Wars stuff, but what made you want to go to a comic book for Empire of the Wolf? Because that's
Empire of the Wolf was one of those things. I wanted to tell this story, and I wanted to tell it in the best, the most visual way possible. And when I started on it, many years ago, I came up with this idea actually. It's starting in high school, which is really weird. A long time ago. And I remember I was taking Latin class, and our teacher at the time, we had to translate a werewolf story. I was like, whoa, this is weird. This is actually a story about werewolves in ancient Rome. And then it always stuck with me. And then, years later, I said, I want to develop this into something. And I love comics, and I just thought this would be such a great graphic novel. I read, I've been reading comics for a long time, in addition to reading other things. And I had to go out and find an artist. I found an artist through some of my Star Wars connections. His name is Dan Parsons. He's done, I think, inked over 100 Star Wars comics for Dark Horse. So he was like a staple of the Dark Horse years with Star Wars, and we just instantly hit it off because he loves ancient Rome. He loves the same era of comics that I do, which are like the 70s horror comics from Marvel.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, and we gelled on that. When I first saw him, I met him at San Diego Comic-Con, and I had heard about him. And I introduced myself, and I saw his pages in front of him. He has this book of sketches that you can buy.
Yeah. Yep.
And I went to the last page, and it was this huge stone face, kind of like Mount Rushmore, but it was something from a sci-fi movie. And I said, "Hey, Dan, is this from Zardoz?" And he looked at me and he flipped off. I don't know if you've ever seen Zardoz, the movie by John Borman.
No, I've never. No.
Okay, it is very bizarre. It's like 1971 or 72. It is a really strange science fiction movie, and nobody had ever identified that or even knew what that was. And I knew what it was, and he was like, "Okay, we got to talk." So that was a really cool moment. Basically we share the same interests in film and in comics and books. So it was great, and we're still working together today.
That's so cool.
Dan and I are developing a new comic book project. We hopefully will be out next year, and it's our take on Sherlock Holmes.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and it's kind of a gritty take on it. It's also one of the reasons it's taken so long is that he's not only drawing the pages, he's doing the pages in an ink wash. And a watercolor wash that he's basically hand painting the pages, and they're just gorgeous. They're really it's a wonderful way to do. I mean, it's a slow way to make a comic book, but boy, it really pops. The art really pops.
It's I remember the Dark Horse comics for Star Wars. They're always like that. They're very painted in a more art style than
more art. Well, especially one of my favorite, to link Star Wars and comics together, my favorite comic book in Star Wars is Tom Veitch and Cam Kennedy's Dark Empire. I don't know if you've read that.
Yes. Oh yeah, Dark Empire. Yep. Yeah.
Dark Empire. Yeah, and it's a different vision of Star Wars. It's a completely different vision of Star Wars. It's watercolors too.
Yep.
And it's you just see every panel. It's just gorgeous, and it doesn't look like any kind of Star Wars we've seen before, and it still separates to this day from anything else. And I think it's a really special. That's a special series. So
I know when I was watching The Last Jedi, like when Luke shows up and you're expecting like what happens in Dark Empire, right? He just like grips the AT-AT and just like demolishes.
I that would have been a cool scene in Last Jedi, I think, too. If they had done that.
And I was like, "There's no way they're doing it. There's no way," and it didn't happen. But a little part of me is like that. It was so epic for me and especially it's just visually stunning, that whole scene in the book.
Yeah, no, that's a great scene in the book. And plus when they go in that series, when they go into the deep core of the universe, and it's very, the colors they use, Cam Kennedy uses, the purples and the blues and these kind of sick greens and the darkness of it. It's stunning. And when Luke, I'm not ruining anything, but when he kind of turns to the dark side, the drawings are epic, and there's so much emotion in them. Yeah,
it's definitely different than a lot of the other projects that I've read.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Star Wars. It looks like you've written. Yeah, that was a great segue. You've written a little bit of Star Wars stuff. It looks like here. Just a little.
Yeah, I've written a little bit, right? It just Star Wars is I was always a fan. Like anyway, I was talking to a friend the other day, and Star Wars is for many people of our generation. It's a thing that we first saw that kind of gave us if you wanted to be into storytelling, it gave you the impetus to like follow your passion, and you wanted to tell stories like that, that were as engaging. I mean, that movie it's just so amazing that it engages somebody who's 4 years old, and it can engage somebody who's 75.
It's crazy.
Isn't it crazy? And that is for so many people, including myself, it's one of the points where you just say, "Oh, right, this is what you need to do." I don't know if there wasn't a Star Wars, I'd still be a writer, I'm sure. But that is definitely a touchstone in just about everybody's growing up within our generation, in terms of if you want to be an artist or a writer or whatever. So
for sure.
I saw Star Wars when I was a kid, and I got to see it on the re-release, which was great. Then I saw Empire Strikes Back in the re-release, and then Return of the Jedi came out, and so I got to see them one after the other, year by year.
Wow.
And so as a kid, you're just like, oh, they're just coming out. They're just coming, you don't know anything about release schedules. Right?
Yeah, you have no idea.
Yeah, you're not waiting 3 years. So I just saw them all on the line. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I was a Star Wars fan when nobody was a fan. Throughout my childhood, we were making up little games, like when nobody in the late 80s, nobody was talking about Star Wars. I was still a big fan. A big fan. And I eventually wrote for West End Games, which they had this Star Wars role-playing game, and I wrote a source article for them called The Business of Bacta, where I developed the background for Bacta, which is what Luke Skywalker floats in Empire Strikes Back after he's attacked by the Wampa.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I did the background for that, and Lucasfilm and West End Games, they liked it, and it was published, and that's how I got my start. So
that is so cool.
To be paid at a pretty young age, at senior year of high school, to be paid for an article is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah.
That's got to be awesome that you have a hand in writing all this Star Wars stuff. So I guess we'll talk about the two most recent are Your Last Jedi and Your Force Awakens junior novels, right? So what's that like for you writing those?
Well, those are just amazing opportunities, because I'm writing episodes 7 and 8. That's all I can tell you. They're not my stories,
right?
But they're my characters in a way, and it's just really an amazing opportunity to see myself as a kid and then to know that I'm going to write the end of Luke Skywalker and the end of Han Solo. I mean, I have to. The problem is, guys, I've had to kill off.
I know.
Childhood heroes. I had to kill off Han.
Yeah.
And then I had to kill off Luke. I'm like, what is going on here?
It's more torture than anything.
Yeah. But it kind of stunned in a way. And the response to those books has been very great. We actually were the best-selling book in the UK for a week. My Last Jedi Junior novel.
That's
of
so
all
awesome.
books. Yeah, it was just like, wow, this is incredible. And then you get a lot of really nice letters from fans and people. And I think what the books offer, in addition to the movies, is you get a different perspective. Like I don't write the same way that Rian Johnson or J.J. Abrams or Lawrence Kasdan writes. I'm not them. I'm Michael Kogge. So when I interpret a scene, it might not be exactly what you see on the screen, but it might just be a different interpretation. And I think that's one of the great things about Star Wars is there's this richness of interpretations. You have a lot of different points of view. And we always talk about continuity and everything fitting together. But in fact, the best Star Wars stories are the stories that don't always fit together. Those are the stories that you remember, right? Those are the stories that push you to, oh, okay, maybe it's not what I thought it was. Maybe it could be something else. And it doesn't legitimize or illegitimize anything one way or the other, but that's what I love about working in a shared universe like Star Wars, is that there's such a variety of interpretations and voices and different points of view.
Yeah.
The book that really made me realize that was possible as a reader was when they did Ender's Game, and then flipped into Ender's Shadow, and they took an insignificant character in that storyline and just told the same story over again from his point of view. And I really love that idea of, like, you can tell this story, but you can make it your own from somebody else's point of view. It's just a really neat thing to do with stories, as opposed to just saying the same things over and over again.
Right, you can take the same series of events. And to tell almost a different story, right? The same plot. When I say that these stories aren't mine, in fact, when I'm doing the junior novel, it is my story because the plot is not mine, okay? Because I didn't lay out the sequence of events the way that JJ or Lawrence or Ryan did. But the story is mine because the world, the characters, the way I construct it, and the way I write it through language is definitely, up to me. It's not a transcription. And Ender's Game, the same way. Orson Scott Card could take the same story and just put it through a different filter, and you get the same plot, put it through a different filter, and you get a completely different story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there something in particular that really, because it seems like you do a lot of the junior novels, and we've had Kevin Scott in the show as well, who does a lot of the junior novels for Star Wars.
Oh yeah, Kevin's a great guy.
Yeah. Is there something in particular that really draws you towards the junior novels?
Not particularly. I was a teacher for a long time, a middle school teacher and a high school teacher, English. So I do like the engagement of kids in reading, or younger audiences in reading. But I would actually say that I don't write my junior novels with any intention to write down to kids, and I try to write them to be all ages. That means I look at it. In fact, sometimes it's more of a challenge to write a junior novel than an adult novel, because you have to watch your words. You can't just throw out $10 words all the time, and you need to really make sure your sentences are sharp and precise. And they can be poetic, they can be prosy, but they can't be too complicated. Okay, but that doesn't limit you for how you can construct something, the psychology of the characters, or just the rhythm of your language. And I don't change any of that when I write. And I've been granted the opportunity to write these books, and I've just taken them. So it's been a blessing. And I got to do the prequel to Batman versus Superman. You know, I told that story, which was
ask about that next.
Yeah, I mean, it was just an amazing, you know, to write what happened before that movie, and it's not, you know, in that book's a junior novel too. It's about a middle school kid, but wow, you know, I was like, this is really special.
Yeah. That's pretty exciting. I really did like Batman vs Superman too.
And by the way, guys, in terms of publishing now, middle grade novels and young adults is where the publishing is at. It's a lot harder to sell. Sadly, their adult readers, people aren't reading as much in their adult years, which is kind of a little bit depressing, but yeah, that's where the market is right now. So
interesting.
That just means a bright future for you writers.
I know.
There you go. It's definitely interesting. And one of your books, the recent books, was the Star Wars, the Poe Dameron pilot log book.
Oh yeah, have you seen that?
I've read about it. I haven't read it myself, but I was curious to like how was that for you? I mean, were you able to just develop his own thoughts? I mean, how did that work? Was it a lot of original content there?
Yeah. So there, that book was actually a tough one to write because I had to not only tie in the comics but the movie and some new material and it's one of my favorite books because it's such it's like a miscellanea of Poe Dameron. It's pilot logs. It's scripts of his encounters. His like I go into his when he goes into Starkiller Base with the other pilots, and we do the transcript of the dialogue between all the pilots. So there's additional dialogue. There's additional storytelling there.
Wow.
There's a great thing where he's talking to Leia in this book, and there's a pop-up of Leia, a holographic pop-up of Leia, which is really cool for his TIE fighter. It's a really neat book. There's a little bit from C-3PO, spy intercepts. There's Admiral Akbar talking. There's General Crix Madine, or I think Madine, Han Solo writing letters to Poe Dameron. I mean, the book is just, every page is like a different way to tell a story, which it's a very creative book. I really like that book. Yeah, and I think fans would like that too. But thanks for asking about it. Yeah, that's one.
I thought it was pretty interesting too. Of like you can tell stories across a whole timeline with that.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need to write a novel, right?
Yeah,
you can actually write a book that is a bunch of artifacts, which is what this is, and kind of tell a story that way. And that's what we did. And when he goes back to Yavin, and I talked about his relationship with his dad, and his relationship with Poe's relationship with his mother, who we never meet, and the first time he was in an A-wing fighter. I mean, it's really, really, really kind of touching stuff. I think very human stuff that you can't do in the movies, and sometimes you can't even do in a novel because a novel is often a slice of time rather than a whole life. So yeah,
for sure. I mean, this is awesome stuff. So you said you have a new project coming out that you might be working on. Do you want to talk about?
There's a book I'm working on. So Empire of the Wolf is through Alterna Comics. If you like werewolves in ancient Rome, this is definitely a book for you. It's kind of a homage to like kind of 1970s horror adventure comics. Awesome. A lot of Conan the Barbarian. I like the guy who painted the cover, Doug Beekman. Did a lot of the Savage Sword of Conan comics in the 70s. He did a lot of the covers for that. So it's nearly like getting Franzanetta to do your cover. I was just amazed that he did it. And that story is about two centurions in ancient Rome. They're up in England. They're fighting off the Celts, the Druids, and this is all based in history. And they're fighting off the Celtic king, and his real name was Caradog. Okay, and I thought with ancient Rome, if you know anything about ancient Rome, you know the story of Romulus and Remus. And there's a famous statue where you have the two babies, and they're being suckled by the wolf. Okay,
Yeah.
the she-wolf.
Yep.
And the founding of Rome is about these Romulus and Remus, two brothers who were suckled by the wolf, who grew up with wolves, who come back. They kill the king that had killed their mother and sent them away, and they take over this village, and then they start making it into Rome, and then Romulus kills Remus. Okay.
Yeah.
But I said, because there's so much wolf lore in ancient Rome, there's a werewolf story here.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
I could develop my comic based on that. And the legend of Romulus and Remus is the foundation myth behind my comic, and it's a werewolf story. So you have two new centurions that are in ancient England, Celtic England, and they fight this Celtic king called Caradog, but he's actually a werewolf. And so they both get bitten by the werewolf. They kill him, but they both get bitten by the werewolf. And of course, they're both in love with the same woman. So one turns bad, and the other is fighting, trying to keep himself from turning evil. He's good, and there's an epic conflagration in ancient Rome over not only this woman that they love, Lavinia, but also the fate of the Roman Empire itself. So,
wow,
it's you go down to Hell, you meet, or Hades, you meet Pluto, you meet Cerberus, the dog.
That's awesome.
There's just a lot of really, really cool stuff in that book. So that came out from Alterna. That's available from Alterna Comics. It's you can find it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or your local comic book store, or Comixology too. And then the new project I'm working on is another comic. It's called Brothers of Baker Street, and it's about Sherlock Holmes' long-lost third brother. And yeah, so there's Mycroft, there's Sherlock, and then there's who I call Percival Holmes. And Percival. And he's more of an Indiana Jones kind of
nice
kind of adventurer. And it's a really cool thing because the first comic is not Sherlock Holmes at all. He's down in Mexico fighting vampires. It's just a awesome. So what we did with this comic is every issue we tried to recreate another type of world. So the first issue is Mexico. The second issue is London. The third issue is Switzerland. There's some really cool stuff in it. And I really cannot wait to show you guys and comic fans everywhere. I think it'll be a really fun read for people.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep our fans updated with all that for sure.
Yeah.
Does that have a publisher yet?
We're just finishing up. We're waiting before we go out. So, yeah.
Really
just
cool.
one of the things about when you do independent comics is you almost need to finish the comic first before you go out to publishers to submit. So. For those people who love indies and they want to do that, I do recommend you finish most of your comic book first before you find a publisher. But that requires you to pay the bills, as the writer or creator. That's the thing. And there are, when you're Ed Brubaker, I'm sure you're doing great. It's like you don't have to worry about. You can find it, but for anybody else, that's just the way it goes.
Some good insight.
Yeah.
There's a couple more things here that before we go, I wanted to talk about. I saw you wrote for StarCraft.
I did. Yeah. You guys StarCraft fans?
Yeah. Well, I love StarCraft. I'm a huge Dota player, so it all started back in StarCraft and Dota 1. So, Chris never wants to talk to me about those games like Dota. Yeah, I can't get him to talk to me about.
Why is that the case, Chris?
I was a huge StarCraft fan, especially up through high school when the first one was out.
Okay.
And then I played it online all the time. The second one, I have all the special editions of it. So yeah, that's one of my favorite game series of all time. Dota, I have so many friends that play Dota, League of Legends, stuff like that, and it's such a funny community to me, and so it's just friends picking on each other is what it really is.
It's all very toxic.
Yeah. You know what it is? You got to pick sides. We only have so much time, So what games do you play and what? That's really the deal.
Right.
But yeah, writing for StarCraft was amazing. because I'm not I played a little bit of StarCraft, but I'm really not a very good strategy game player. I'm just some people are fantastic at it, and I'm more of a narrative driven person. So I really like Telltale games and games with a real, like, I love the point and click old Lucasfilm games. This era games. I'm a big fan of those, and I'm not as agile with strategy games, and I'm always impressed by people who are. But
that's the type of game I've become in my golden years.
Yeah. But so with StarCraft, I was just they saw my Star Wars work, and they liked it, and I went down there and I learned everything I could about StarCraft. In fact, I read I read all the novels. I know the universe pretty well, and then they had me write a story for their Heart of Their Swarm expansion edition. So there's a book out there. It's StarCraft. I think it might be called War Stories.
Yep, War Stories.
By Simon Schuster, and you can find the story there. But I got to kind of go into the Protoss and kind of develop their alien society a little bit. The story is from the point of view of a Protoss.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
So it was a really, really cool thing to do. Yeah.
And then you have the Fantastic Beasts book.
Yeah, so my latest book is coming. It should be coming out in October. It's called, I think it's called The Wizarding World of Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts, and it's basically a look into all the artifacts, humans, characters, a huge guide into that world that hasn't been done before. And so cool. I wouldn't say it's an encyclopedia, but it's just a really, really cool book. If you're a Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts fan, it's from the point of view of the movies. You'll be able to look at this book and find a lot of things that you didn't know, and it kind of collects a lot of things about the potions, the spells, the magic, timelines, maps. It was a really, really interesting book to write in. And J.K. Rowling, she is a genius. The way she builds her worlds and puts together her characters, and the more and more I write within her universe, and the more amazed I am at what she's done and what she's built. So a project like that, how do you have to do a little bit of research, right? So are you consulting with her, like shooting your emails, like, hey, if I talk about a potion this way, is that like against your rules for the universe? Or? No. It's all done through the editor. So
okay.
I don't talk to Joe. I don't talk to JK or Joe. Mm-hmm. I don't know if she knows who I am, but I don't talk, it all goes through the hierarchy. Okay. But it's all vetted that way. I mean, she has people, and I'm sure she reads over everything at the end. So to make sure it works within what she wants. She has a great vision for her own universe, and she is very focused and there's quality. She wants to make sure there's a lot of quality in the things that talk about her universe too.
Awesome. So we can expect that book in October.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on the show, Michael.
Hey guys, it was so much fun. Yeah. Hope you got your fantasy football picks too today.
I'm not doing so well with those.
So if our listeners want to come find you and find all the awesome stuff we talked about today, what's the best place to send them? Sure.
So I'm on Twitter at Michael Kogge, MichaelKogge. Okay. Or I'm online at michaelkogge.com. Again, MichaelKogge.com. They can find me those two places. And if they want Empire of the Wolf, this is really easy. It's empireofthewolf.net. There's a link there for Amazon and Alterna Comics, and you can definitely you can find a copy there.
Very cool.
Awesome. So thanks again for being on the show. It was a great chat.
Awesome chat.
And good luck with everything coming up.
Thank you. You guys too. Thank you so much for reaching out, supporting independent comics and
Yeah, for sure.
you just like your love of comics in general. It's always fun to talk to you guys.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And when a new book comes out, maybe we can get you back on and talk a little bit about that.
I love that, guys. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks,
All right.
Mike.
And we're back.
Yep, thank you.
Hey, what a great interview. Good stuff.
Yeah. Good talk.
Is it Crystal Pepsi?
It is Crystal Pepsi. It's back, baby.
Oh,
Crystal
my God.
Pepsi's back, everybody.
It was never in. You can't have something be back if it was never a thing. Like,
Oh, it was a thing.
oh man, God. All right. Well, that just happened. Does it actually taste like Pepsi?
No, it doesn't.
What does it taste like? Sprite?
It tastes like a combination of Pepsi and Sprite, and it's fantastic.
Wow. All right then. Comic book news. Killmonger is getting his own series from Brian Hill and Juan Ferreira. That is a name, I tell you.
Yep.
Ferreira. Ferriara. I think that's it. Ferriara.
Yeah, it's a name, all right.
Yep. Anyways, Killmonger series. How do you feel about it? I don't think there's enough. I don't know. I don't think. Can they even keep a Black Panther book on the shelves? Like, seriously. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
So, yeah, I have a completely different view for that. Personally, I'm not a big Black Panther person.
Oh, you would fit right in the South Park season right now if you haven't seen that episode.
I haven't, but I'll watch it. The movie was great. I'm not a big fan of the comic series that they've done, but at the same time, Black Panther is a cultural phenomenon in the movies. It is very smart for them to keep building Black Panther characters up in the comics to see if they can do more.
I give it like
now
6
like
issues.
The 5th or 6th Black Panther related comic book out right now. So
yeah, they must be doing something right, I guess.
It's like Batman. Like, how many Batman comics can they make? As many as they want to make.
But don't compare Black Panther to Batman. Come on, the sales there has to be a difference.
Well, okay. Here's the comparison: Batman gets 1,000 comics every month.
Yeah,
and they sell like crazy, and I get that. Black Panther has now that movie. Without checking, I bet you that it sold better than any Batman movie ever has. So I would probably bet that Marvel is trying to put their money where their mouth is and say, we got one of the biggest movie characters ever. We should probably double down the comics and try to do more with it, and hoping that the sales reflect it. I'm not saying that the sales in the comics are going to reflect Batman, but I am saying there's a similarity in kind of people know who this character is now. He's everywhere, so we should make more comics with that character.
But Batman's Batman. I'm just kidding. I'm done with this. Speaking of Batman, Sean Murphy's making a sequel to The White Knight called Batman Curse of the White Knight. And this is awesome because it's featuring, he released this on his Twitter this week, Azrael. Boom. So excited. I want all the issues. Gotta read it. Dude, Azrael is such an awesome character. I really enjoyed The White Knight. I really enjoyed Sean Murphy's stuff. I'm finally almost done with Punk Rock Jesus by suggestion of you. Fantastic book. So good. Yeah. More of this. I am excited for this.
Everything you just said. White Knight was one of my favorite books of this year. And I thought the art was fantastic. The story was really great. I like the world they created here. When Sean Murphy said he's doing more Batman stuff, I could see from a mile away it was White Knight 2. And to add Azrael as a character into this universe, mic drop.
Yeah. Boom. Very sad comic book news.
Yes.
Norm Brayfogle has passed away. He was the artist for Detective Comics and lots of Batman comics from like the 80s to the 90s, I think, like all that stuff. I mean, he was doing the big long capes, the sharp capes, man, the big long pointy ears. Yeah, he was involved in all that. Such a very, very, relevant artist, especially in that era of comics. I mean, when you think like 90s Batman, that's your 90s Batman is like drawn by him, I feel like. Just me personally.
Yeah. And I didn't read a ton of Batman back then, so I was trying to remember where I knew him from. And there's a couple. He's done some Marvel work. He's done an issue of Moon Knight here, an issue of Captain America here. So I'm sure I saw his name there. But then I figured it out. He actually did the Batman Beyond Unlimited series about 4 or 5 years back, and that's where I know him from. The dude was a talent. He obviously influenced a generation back in the 90s, and is way too young because he was, 58 years old, 59 years old?
Yeah, had a stroke, yep.
Yeah, so sucks. Comics are a little bit less today than they were yesterday because of that, and just hope for the best moving forward.
Yeah, most people would know him from Detective Comics, like in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, and I knew him from Shadow of the Bat. He did a lot of the art on Shadow of the Bat, the first issues at least.
So yeah, out to his family and everything. That's ridiculously sudden and young and just out of nowhere. So thoughts out to them.
Yeah, so before we talk comics, we mentioned South Park, and I got to bring up South Park really quick because I did watch that this week. I completely forgot about South Park. I'm not even sure if I watched the last season, but I don't know if you've seen this. There's a thing going around that's like #cancel South Park.
Yes, it's in a lot of the comics.
Yeah,
actually.
So this week's episode, like if they don't get canceled this season, they'll never get canceled because. Just to start you off, this first episode to start the season off this week is about school shootings, okay? The school shootings are happening so often in the episode of South Park that like each teacher has to they're just continuing with the lesson like while the school shooting is happening. And then so that's a side the side story is Cartman is dressed in a leather jacket acting like Jessica Jones and they play the Jessica Jones music. He's investigating why Token is the only black person that doesn't like the movie Black Panther or hasn't seen the movie Black Panther. He tells everyone he hasn't seen Black Panther and he thinks he's lying. So he's trying to investigate why he's lying. And Cartman personally doesn't like Black Panther. So there's all that controversy happening. So messed up. There's a school shooting scene and there's they give Butters an M16. It is just, it's you're laughing at South Park, but then there's some, this was an episode where it was each scene, I'm like, oh my God, they really just did that.
So you think this is a deliberate attempt to see how far they can push the envelope?
Oh, it definitely is. Yeah. I think they're really trying to get canceled. Which, if they do, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, because it was very touchy subject they're dealing with. If they don't, I mean, that's awesome. I'm going to keep watching South Park, but it's great. I mean, really, I mean, freedom of speech, right? I guess is what it comes down to, what it boils down to, and how far Comedy Central wants to take the freedom of speech. But yeah,
they've always been a on the fringe show. And have you ever seen the documentary they did, 6 Days to Air?
Oh yeah, it's a great documentary.
That really shows how incredible their process is, and you can love or hate it. I understand it pushes the boundary way too far, but that's what I love about it. They're not afraid to say anything, and nothing is off limits.
Nothing.
You can't even sit there and say that it's this side of the spectrum or that side. They'll literally tear apart this side and then the next scene is tearing apart the other. So I think that's a show that we need in this world. And I'm glad to see that makes me want to watch it. I'm glad to hear that they're really pushing the envelope.
Yeah, I was like, Chris would love this episode. Okay, so comics. I didn't get to talk to you about comics last week. I think I'm going to start with.
Before we start, let's end with Doomsday Clock and Heroes in Crisis.
Yeah, I'd prefer to end on Heroes in Crisis.
Well, let's end on those two, because those are the two big ones of the week, and we will go through our regulars from there.
Okay. Yeah, so this is last week. I had Hit Girl number 8. It was a good book. I mean, it's I believe it's the end of the Jeff Lemire run with Hit Girl. I forget who's taking it over after him, but she basically gets revenge on all the Canadian gangster guys. Batman number 55 came out as more of Batman and Nightwing teaming up together, which, spoilers for Batman 55, this is like 2 weeks old, so I don't really care. The issue ends with KG Beast. It's KG Beast, right? Yeah. I'm thinking it's KGB Beast, but that doesn't sound right. I can never remember. I'm the DC guy, I should know this. But so the issue ends with Commissioner Gordon lights the bat signal and calls Nightwing and Batman to the roof. And Commissioner Gordon's like, haven't done this in a while. And he's like, wait, you didn't like the signal? Dun, dun, dun. And then Nightwing gets shot in the head and dies. So Dick Grayson is dead. That it happened.
Interesting.
Which is weird because they brought him into the book for like 1 or 2 issues and then they shot him in the head and it's like, now he's dead. So I guess there's going to be some follow-up to that for sure. Justice League number 8, we get that really interesting conversation with Lex Luthor and the Batman that laughs.
Yeah.
Basically telling him he doesn't really understand the full reality of what's happening, and then basically the source wall that cracked, it was holding back a woman, an entity we don't really know who she is yet. We've only gotten a name, and it seems that Lex Luthor knows about it, and it almost looks like the Justice League might be discovering it fairly soon.
Yeah, because it seems to be in their like Hall of Justice. So
yeah, I don't know if it's her trapped there or some info about her, but yeah. So I'm going to skip to this week now. Justice League Dark number 3. Oof, what a book, I tell you. We meet the villain who's like the embodiment of magic. Like basically the humans were so bored with their own reality that they discovered magic and started toying with magic, but magic doesn't belong to the humans. It belongs to this greater force. And they're a little pissed off. We get to see this awesome fight with like Swamp Thing and Constantine. And then at the end, Wonder Woman reveals that she has some power within her that is able to battle this magic or this dark magic. So I'm sure we're going to learn more about that.
Yeah, I think there's a one-shot coming out this week about it.
Oh, okay, cool. Rick and Morty versus Dungeons and Dragons number 2. That book is so good.
Yeah, unfortunately, my tablet died battery-wise, and as I was about to read it, and I wasn't unable to read it today. Oh,
man. Really good. Rick and Morty get out of the whole issue that the whole situation blips and shits. This is a really funny character that they bring in that like blips and shits works with, and it's like he's like a Cthulhu guy, and he's like every time he comes in and does something, he says like my debt has been paid or something. It's like super serious. It's hilarious. Like they bring him in to like resurrect Rick and Morty because they're dead right now, but he's just a really funny character. And at the end of the issue, they end up playing as a family with like Summer and Morty's mom, and all of them end up playing like a virtual reality version of Dungeons and Dragons, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it's a great book. If you like Dungeons and Dragons, if you like Rick and Morty, if you just like Rick and Morty, you're going to like this book. And that's pretty much it besides Doomsday Clock. There's a couple I haven't read yet. I need to read Action Comics 1003. and then I need to read Amazing Spider-Man 6, both books I have not gotten to yet.
So I'm gonna try to blow through these as fast as possible. But there's 2 Infinity Warps books that came out these past 2 weeks.
Oh, is this the Captain America one?
Well, they're amalgams of 2 characters put together. So we got Iron Hammer and Soldier Supreme, and they're both telling the origins of these characters and where they come about. Mm-hmm. Both very interesting in how they combine the 2 characters together.
Soldier Supreme looks awesome.
Soldier Supreme was cool. Basically, the super soldier serum was magically enhanced, and that's how he gets the magical abilities.
Okay.
And they even mixed the villains together. So the villain of the book was Red Skull and Dormammu. So it's Dormammu Red.
Oh, okay, cool.
And the Iron Hammer one it's Stark Odin's son. And he owns this big company, and he ends up in the cave with a troll and has to fight what looks as a combination of Loki and it was Loki and Death, and then the Malekith and the Ten Rings guy. I forget his name now.
Oh, Mandarin.
Thank you. Both really cool in how they, like I said, meld them together. Fun issues, kind of new twists on a similar story idea. I really enjoyed them.
Cool.
Venom number 6. Did you get to read that?
No, I missed that this week. Damn.
Very fun book. Like Venom, actually, like the symbiote tries to meld with all these different weapons, like automatic machine guns and bazookas and shit, and goes and fights Cole. Awesome book.
So cool.
I don't know how many times we gotta say to read it.
Yeah, it is very good.
Black Hammer, Age of Doom number 5. So basically all the heroes know why they're on the farm now, and I don't want to spoil it because it's a really awesome reveal, and they're going to be heading back to their Earth here soon. So
okay, cool.
If you like Black Hammer, this was an awesome issue. This is a very pivotal issue. And if you're a fan of like Golden Age comics, specifically Golden Age like DC comics, this is a great story that takes that and tells it in a modern sense. Sonic the Hedgehog number 9 was good. Avengers number 8. So the new Avengers Tower is going to be inside the body of one of the dead Celestials. And that's really what the story's about, is who's going to be on the team. That one of the members is going to be kind of interchangeable. So Doctor Strange is off on a different mission, and they said, like, well, we have backups in case, so other people will come along. And it really sets up Ghost Rider to be a big hero moving forward. And then introduce the new villain, and that's going to be Namor. I'm stoked about because I love me some Namor.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Thor number 5 is it's a future Thor issue. So Thor has brought back Earth, which was destroyed in the future, and this was a mistake. So the Phoenix comes to find Thor and tell him, you've made a giant mistake and you can't do this. Thor ends up finding out that the Phoenix is controlling Wolverine. So it's Wolverine Phoenix in space. And Thor's daughters are on Earth, kind of getting used to Midgard and what's going on. And along comes a bunch of giant monsters, including Fin Fang Foom. And they tell them that you need to leave. And they say, we're just letting you know that our master is on his way. And Master shows up. And spoilers for the end of this book, but I need to share this with you, Mike, because it is awesome. It is Dr. Victor Von Doom, who is the Star Brand, the Sorcerer Supreme, and the Iron Fist.
What? All three?
Yes, all three at the same time. So that's awesome. I can't wait for issue 6.
And the Iron Fist. Like, oh my god.
Just throw it in there.
Yeah, just to throw that in there.
Captain America Annual #1. This was not written by the regular team, but it's a side story about Captain America in World War II. It's about Cap finding these people who were in concentration camps and helping them to escape. It's a very simple, classic Captain America story, but it was a really good one. So if you're a Captain America fan, check out that issue. Century #4, Jeff Lemire, fantastic. Check it out. Realm #9, I love the Realm. Sorry, I've got a ton of books here, so I'm trying to breeze through them.
Yeah, last week was crazy. It was like we're getting a ton of books in 1 week and then nothing in the other week.
Yeah. Spider-Man issue 6, so it's a non-Brian Otley issue, so the art's going to it's going to be different, but it's really setting up Boomerang and who he is and who he's going to be moving forward.
Yeah, I didn't finish the issue. I started reading it, but like it was almost like an origin story again. Like they told the same. When I opened it and read it, I was like, "Is this the first issue? Like, is this the wrong number?" And it was like, "Oh no."
And once you get to the end, it makes sense of why they are trying to set him up even further. He's obviously going to play a big role in the next couple storylines, and he does. He sends brings Peter to the bar with no name to Spider-Man trivia night because he wants to win all the money, and of course it goes wrong.
Oh man.
Dr. Aphra #24. Dr. Aphra is fantastic. If you love Star Wars, she's a great addition to the mythos that you should be checking out. And let's see. Punisher #2. Punisher #2 extends the story from last month, so Hydra's after him, the heroes are after him, and it's just Punisher kicking ass panel after panel. He chops off the head of a Hydra agent. He defeats Luke Cage and the Iron Fist when they try to take him down. And now he's stuck on a train at the end with Daredevil as a bunch of ninjas come to find him. Because Hydra wants him dead. And then before we jump on to the big books, I want to talk about Justice League Odyssey #1 because that.
Oh yeah, Justice League Odyssey. What a great book!
This was probably my favorite book of the week. Outside of Heroes, this was my favorite.
When I realized like the plot behind it, like when we found out about the miniature universes and why they were hidden away, or we don't know why. We know they were hidden away, and that like this book is just them visiting each universe, or like that's what it's going to be, I believe.
Well, the reveal there that when Darkseid shows up and you realize why he's a part of this team, and that he's the one that summoned all of them to this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Was so good. It was so rewarding. Yeah. And just the reveal that the characters that they chose, which were Cyborg, Azrael, and Starfire, were actually considered to be gods in these different universes, just made sense of the team. And then, of course, Green Lantern's along for the ride.
Yeah.
But I can't wait for the next issue, and Stefan Sajek is so good in art. Like,
the art is really good.
I was sad to see him leave Aquaman, but if he's going to leave Aquaman, he needs to be on a spacefaring book.
I really think it's called Odyssey though, because like every issue or so, they're going to go to those different shrunken cities or colonies or like universes, whatever they were. I think they were universes.
Yeah, well, there's something going on there that they need to fix.
So, like, I don't know. We're going to see some crazy stuff. Like those giant monsters that were like flying around them when they landed. Yeah. That was awesome. They were like bigger than planets. It looked like it was crazy.
So jump on that book now. That book was fantastic. Yeah. And I did read Batman Damned. Personally, it didn't do it for me. I have a hard time with Brian Azzarello. I keep trying him, and he just doesn't write for me.
Yeah, it was. It was my review of that is it was trying to be way more epic than it was. Like, as you were reading it, it was like almost like it was trying hard to be something epic. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's hard to describe.
So this is my Brian Azzarello thing, is he always has an amazing idea, but then he tries too hard, in my eyes, to go with it. So there's an amazing story around Batman Kills the Joker, and I want someone to explore that story, but then he starts throwing in Constantine and Zatanna, and it didn't need to go there. It felt like too much. Yeah. But I'm glad I bought it now because they're not reprinting it and people are paying a lot of money for it.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know they're not reprinting it.
They so it wasn't in the news, but everybody knows about the Batwang situation.
Oh yeah, where you get to see his Johnson.
Originally they were going to censor it and then reprint it, and now they've decided that not only are they not reprinting it, they're pushing back issue 2, and they're going to go through and check all those. So I'm thinking somebody got this through the censors.
Oh man. Yeah, it was a big thing on the subreddit. People were like going nuts, like, well, they did it. Like,
my personal favorite story of the whole thing was the Alliance for Genital Mutilation, I want to say. And they shamed DC because Batman's circumcised.
Oh my god.
So, on that note, everybody, we're going to dive into giant spoilers on 2 of probably the biggest books of the week. Definitely 2 of the biggest DC books of a while. So, if you don't want to get spoiled, I understand. Click off now, and we'll see you next week. If you don't mind getting spoiled and jumping in the conversation, we're going to start with Doomsday Clock and then go to Heroes in Crisis. So, all right, Mike, Doomsday Clock.
Doomsday Clock was a number 7?
Yes.
Like, it's about time something happened, or we got some info on this book. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so, where do I start? Okay, well, first off, we find out Ozymandias is faking his cancer.
Yes.
Just to find the whole. Okay, so the most interesting part of the book to me is the plot with Mr. Thunder, because his genie was locked away and the power was hidden, but somehow the Green Lantern like resonated with him because it's of that same power. Right? That's why he was able to find the Green Lantern, because like Dr. Manhattan had left his mark on it.
Yes, but it seems to go a little bit further than that. I think this is them telling us that Dr. Manhattan has been fucking with the timeline.
Yeah.
He's definitely adjusted things. So he did something to Alan Scott. So I definitely think that in the universe we stand in today, there was no Justice Society.
Yeah.
And with that, the Green Lantern, the original Green Lantern, not Oa Green Lantern, went somewhere else to this other guy and eventually made it back to where it needed to be.
Yeah, like he never became the Green Lantern. This is the way he messed with the timeline, which I think like stopped a lot of heroes from becoming the heroes that they were. It seemed like Alan Scott becoming Green Lantern is kind of what made the Justice Society, almost.
So yeah, it seems like Alan Scott is the Clark Kent Superman of the Justice Society, if that makes sense. Like he has to be there for them to become and thrive. And so they're basically saying that the start of the heroes was Superman and not the JSA.
So there's a theory.
That's what I took from it.
There's a theory, and I've seen it online, and I almost believe it's true, because ultimately it seems like we get revealed in the end of the book that Dr. Manhattan is like, I don't have time to talk to you anymore, and he doesn't really reveal too much. But he goes back to the moon, I believe, and he's waiting for Mars, and he's waiting for Superman to show up, and he's basically going to have a fight with Superman, is like what he's seen. Everyone is thinking that is not actually Dr. Manhattan, but it's actually Firestorm. Because they keep showing Firestorm like throughout the story timeline. And if we compare like the abilities of Firestorm to Dr. Manhattan, they're really similar. I mean, they can both shape matter into whatever they want. They both can fly. They both shoot like energy, like control energy, I guess. I don't know. It seems like a pretty cool theory. As to what like the motivation behind all this, I don't know. We're still lacking on a lot of info, I feel like.
Yeah, it's very strange. Like, so something actually happened. Dr. Manhattan actually showed up. That's the big news here.
Yeah.
And we know that there is some sort of fight that's going to go down at some point between Manhattan and Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And that he sees an end to... He says he doesn't know if it's his timeline or the timeline.
Yeah.
I'm very curious as to what's going on, because once again, the Batman, like, so we're going to put way too much thought into the Batman symbol. So it's the Batman symbol from essentially a bastardized version of Batman Incorporated Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly that's what the symbol in Rebirth is supposed to become.
Mm-hmm.
And to my knowledge, that hasn't happened yet. Am I correct there?
No.
So I'm really curious as to, like, is this taking place farther into the future that we haven't gotten to yet? Or what's going on here? Because something is happening, and I really want to know. So
yeah,
I have many problems with this book. I think it's way too slow.
Yeah.
Not a lot has happened, but I can't stop reading it because something important is happening here.
Something's happening. I just don't know what. Yeah, that's the way I feel about the book too. Like, wow, this is really cool, I think. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, the Gary Frank art really helps.
Yeah.
Like when you're seeing pages of like the Joker meeting the comedian, it's like that's what this book's all about. Well, not really, but that's what's doing it for me.
Yeah, I really just want at the end of the day for the marionette and the puppeteer, is that what they are?
Yeah.
For them just to become villains in the DC universe.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I wouldn't mind comedians sticking around, and that's another thing. They don't talk too much about how comedian is here.
Yeah, they're like, he's just back.
Yeah, so, and that's a question someone actually poses to him, like, you're dead, what's going on?
Yeah.
And this new Rorschach, I'm not too sure about. And Ozymandias could be an interesting villain moving forward. So I think the characters could meld well into the DC universe when it's all said and done. But at 7 issues in, I feel like we should know way more. And I get a feeling we're going to have a really rushed ending here soon.
Yeah. Okay, now let's talk about the book that I wanted Doomsday Clock to be. Heroes in Crisis.
All right, so I want the big spoiler. I want to put it out there right now. It is revealed that Harley Quinn doesn't like pudding.
Yep, it is revealed. You know, as I read that book, I really don't mind that Harley Quinn in that book, like the psychotic killer Harley Quinn. I thought that was pretty awesome.
That's the Harley Quinn I want in,
like, the whole
DC
fight between
Comics.
Booster and her, where she eats the pie and then she's like, okay, now I'm going to kill you, and like stabs him in the neck. Like, that is awesome.
Yeah, that's who Harley Quinn is to me. Harley Quinn is the psychotic woman who is basically the female Joker, to a sense. It's not this over-sexualized, Deadpool-esque character that they're turning him into. I mean, that's my version of Harley Quinn, and I get that I'm in a minority, but I really do love what Tom King does with Harley Quinn here. And, so...
Yes. The whole, I mean, Booster Gold, it seems like pre-established there was this home set up for like superhero addicts or like recovering superheroes.
And superheroes with PTSD. That was the big one.
So like Booster Gold was in this house, Roy Harper, who had a heroin addiction, and all these other heroes. And it seemed like Harley was there too, maybe. Or she was involved somehow. And so
there's a whole bunch of heroes there. The big ones you need to know are Arsenal, Wally West, Harley Quinn, and then it's revealed at the end, Booster Gold. And they're all murdered, every one of them. Well, Booster. Except for Harley and Booster.
Yeah, Harley and Booster are still alive. Someone has murdered all of them. That's what we get, like Superman shows up, right? And everybody's dead.
Yeah. Trinity shows up and everybody's dead.
Yeah, the Trinity shows up. And that's pretty much where we're at. I don't know who's done it, so that's a pretty big way to start the book off.
So there's two big moments here for me. One's the obvious. So they want you to believe that Harley did it the whole time.
Right.
That's why they sent Harley in. That's why Harley starts stabbing Booster Gold and having them. And then at the end, when Booster says something to her, and Harley goes, "Well, you were there too, and you killed them all."
Yeah.
So it's who did it? That's the basis of the book, is who did it.
Mm-hmm.
That's got me very intrigued. I thought that was a great way to present basically what the book is going to be moving forward. The other huge moment for me here is Wally West dying.
Yeah.
Now, I saw Arsenal dying a mile away. He's the most expendable person in that cast.
He's already a heroin addict. Just kill him off.
Well, and who's going to die? Booster, Harley, Arsenal, and there was like two, Cyborg and someone else. Yeah. And I was like, okay, it's going to be Arsenal because Cyborg's too big a player, Harley sells too well, and Booster is the lead character. But I was wrong in a sense because Wally is dead. Now, I think this is huge because Wally is kind of the impotence of Rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just reintroduced into DC continuity.
Yeah, they killed him.
And he's the reason everybody remembers what happened during New 52. Right. And now he's dead.
It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, so that's got me really intrigued because there's a definite universe-wide consequence to this through one person dying. And
great first issue, a lot happening. I can't wait to read their next. I'm excited.
Yeah, so I wanted to present this to you on air. I had been thinking about this idea. If you listen to a lot of podcasts, as do I, a lot of video game content does spoiler casts on different video games after they come out. This book has me so intrigued. I think we need to, every issue, do what we just did today, push it to the end of the segment, and go really deep into it, because it seems like there's going to be a great conversation moving forward with every issue here.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea for this book. Something like Doomsday Clock, where we're both like confused as hell. It's like I want to speculate, but I don't even know where to start. You know what I mean? Like it's I agree. Though.
So every time that book comes out, Heroes in Crisis, we're going to do that and kind of dig deeper into our thoughts, and because it's a who did it, and that's going to be a great conversation there too. Is like who do we think did it, and so. But Mike,
awesome.
That's going to happen next month. And we are done with the show now. So tell me, where can people find you on the internet?
They can find me at Fortress Ricker on Twitter. Where can they find you, Chris?
They can find me at Fortress Chris on Twitter.
Where can they find the show?
You can find the show at FCN_official on Twitter. And if you want to just check us out on the internet as well, FortressComicNews.com. You can go there, and that has everything we do on the internet, including our link to MyComicShop.com. If you have anything you need comic book wise, click on that link and we get a little bit of help her out in this end of that. Doesn't cost you another dime, nothing like that. And remember, you're watching on YouTube, you know the drill. Thumb up the video, share with your friends, subscribe to the channel, do all that fun stuff. If you're listening to us through iTunes, Google Play, whatever, you know the drill as well. Reviews. 5-star reviews help us get to more ears, helps us out a ton, and we appreciate it. And now that I'm almost out of breath, I want to thank you all for listening, and I promise you we'll see you next week. Say bye, Mike.
I have no follow-up to any. That was fantastic. That's the best part of the show.
Crystal Pepsi.
Crystal. Popping bottles of Crystal.